A Trip to Pittsburgh in 1855 by Samuel Young. Samuel Young was born in Pittsburgh in 1821, where he grew up. As a young man, he left the city and became a newspaperman and political firebrand. In 1852, he arrived in Clarion to become editor of the Clarion Banner, a Whig newspaper of that time. He stayed for 16 years and later wrote up his experiences in his autobiography, The History of My Life, which was published in 1890. One of the most engaging tales Young tells in his book is of a trip from Clarion to Pittsburgh in the mid-1850s. He was about 35 years old at the time. Chapter 13. A Trip to Clarion. The Young Irishman Helped. During all our years in Clarion, there was no mode of ingress or egress save by stage or hired conveyance, unless rich enough to own a vehicle yourself. The old stagecoach was the popular way, and though it required many hours to reach Pittsburgh, yet the trip was conceded to be a very pleasant one. There were always several passengers, and each one tried as far as he could succeed in keeping his companion in good humor. We remember once when going to the city we had for a traveling companion a very nice-looking old lady. The rain was pouring down, and we longed for it to cease, as we dared not smoke in the presence of a woman. It was too wet to sit with the driver, and thus in silence we submitted to the decree of fate. Finally we could contain our thoughts no longer, and blurted out, "I wish it would quit raining so I could get up with the driver and take a smoke." To which the lady replied, "Why, bless your soul, you needn't stop on my account. Smoke all you want to, as I smoke myself, and will only be too glad to join you if you have a spare cigar." We had, and in a moment the lady had one, and both were soon puffing away for dear life and enjoying it as only old smokers can. It was a picture to see us, and during the remainder of the trip we are as happy as mortals could be. Having got through with our business in Pittsburgh, we made arrangements to return home, and getting on board one of D. Leach's fast-line Union Canal boats, were soon on our way to the pine-clad hills of Clarion. When we turned out from our berth the next morning, our good boat was just entering the lock at Freeport, where we knew we must soon disembark. Ascending to the deck, we found that a glorious day was before us for our trip. While standing on the deck gazing on the scenes around us, we were approached by a nicely dressed young Irishman. He asked us if we knew where Calensburg, Clarion County, was, and how he could get there. We gave him the desired information. He was very pale, as though recovering from a long spell of sickness. And he said to me, "Well, sir, I'm entirely out of money and have my wife and baby, and we want to reach Calensburg, where I have friends, and don't know how to do it." And his eyes filled with tears. "I think I can get you within a few miles of that town, and something may turn up to help you finish the trip." "Oh, sir, 1,000 thanks, and God will reward you for your goodness." Just then we noticed Captain Piper, the owner of the stage line, approaching, and we hastened to meet him. We explained the situation of the young man and wife, and asked him if he could not take them as far as Reimersburg, and they might strike a chance to get through next day. He promptly said yes, and I told the young man to get his baggage ready, as the stage would start as soon as the passengers got breakfast. There were two gentlemen, lawyers from Philadelphia, the Irishman and his wife, and myself as passengers. All having had breakfast, including the Irishman and his wife, we got aboard, and away we went to famous old Clarion. Arriving at Brady's Bend, the stage stopped to change horses and allow the passengers to eat dinner. When seated at the table, we missed the young man and wife, and hastily going out, found them seated in the stage. We asked them to come in, as dinner was waiting, but the answer was they had no money to pay for it and could do without. We gave the young man $1 and told them to go in and satisfy their hunger. He called down blessings on our head as he followed us, and now that all were seated, the dinner began, and it was such a one as only James Morrison could serve. A bottle of wine was ordered by the Philadelphians, which they shared with all. The repast over, all got aboard, and the lumbering, old-fashioned coach went over the ground at a lively rate. Just as darkness set in, we reached Reimersburg and halted at the hotel of our good-natured friend, Captain Tom Newell. An elegant supper was soon smoking on the table, and all of our party did ample justice to it. This over, we prepared for a continuance of our trip. We called Captain Newell aside and requested that either that night or in the early morning he would send the Irish family to Calensburg, and we would be responsible for the bill. This he agreed to do, and soon after we left for Clarion. Time rolled on, and the foregoing subject was entirely forgotten. Then we received several letters from a strange hand, all coming from Calensburg, requesting us to send papers to different persons, each containing a $2 bill. We did not give the matter a thought, except that we were puzzled to know who this liberal patron was, but we did not find out. One day a decently dressed man came into the office and inquired for the editor. We told him we were the person, and requested him to be seated for a moment, and we would attend to his wants. He sat down and watched what was going on in the office. Seating ourselves at the writing table, we asked what we could do for him. Putting a hand in his pocket, he pulled out a roll of paper, which he unfolded, and as he did so, he said, "Here's some money that I owe you, and only too glad to be able to pay it." "What is your name?" "James Gould." "I haven't such a name in my books," and we looked at him somewhat surprised. "No, sir, I don't think you have, but at the same time I owe you this money." And he handed us several bank bills, a total of $5 or $6. "Well, my friend, you will have to explain how you are in my debt, as I think there's some mistake in the matter." "None at all. A year or two ago, when you met me at Freeport, you did me a great favor. The amount it cost you is there, and I want you to have it, and more if I had it to give." "Why, my friend, I couldn't possibly take that money. What I did was in a spirit of kindness. It helped and relieved you, and so far as I was concerned, there the matter ended, and I gave it no more thought." "That was very kind, and I fully appreciate it, but you are entitled to the money, as I am to you a stranger, and have no claim whatsoever upon you. Please take it." "I cannot do that, but I will tell you what to do with it. Lay it carefully aside in your wallet, and when you happen to meet a man in distress, as you were, give it to him, and that will square all accounts between us." "I'll do it," he said, regretfully, and replaced the money in his pocket. He thanked us sincerely as he was leaving, and tears ran down his cheeks. So we parted, and never met again.